we are we live? Are we not live? That's always the interesting question here on the YGO from Zero streams with Restream here. It seems like we're live at one of two locations because I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Okay, it seems like we're live on YouTube, which is honestly probably better overall because that's where I mainly stream. But yeah, we are live. I'll get things started very soon here. I just need to do some last minute edits to the YouTube stream description because that always happens for some reason. I use Restream to dual stream here, and I mean, I don't know, sometimes it just doesn't quite fill in everything for you. So I need to figure out how to do that in the future. I think I've said that on past streams as well. But, it'll just be a little bit before we start. And this gives more people time to just sort of file in for the locals, which are happening on the Discord server linked in the description of the stream. So hopefully we're live on Twitch as well. Welcome, Patrick, to the stream. What's up with you? I hope things are going well. I'm just doing some last minute. Okay, there we go. That should be good. And then we can do this. And then we can do this. Okay, cool. So that should all be good now, all good and updated. It looks like we are live on Twitch as well now. So we got everything started. I'm going to share the links to the stream on the Discord server. I should honestly start, sharing links to that stuff on like Twitter or things like that as well, just to sort of get the word out. But, I don't like Twitter the most. I think it's kind of a weird platform. But people have to do weird things to to make it in the world. So maybe I should do it. But I mean, we'll just have to see. And yeah, that's sent out. And we're starting the thing, Dump Truck. Don't worry, we're starting it. I'm just getting the last minute stuff out of the way. Okay, starting. Well, actually, I need to go to settings. I need to unrate the tournament. There we go. Bam, like that. We're going to do you. And there we go. Let's get started. And we're going to start the tournament. We're going to start the locals, to be precise, because starting the big tournament would be kind of weird. We're just going to shuffle because, there aren't really format library rankings for this yet. So, I mean, it's a bit interesting there. I'm going to refresh just to make sure everything's good on Challenge. And there we go. We got the bracket up, ready to go. We got those games going on. And, yeah, I mean, let's see how things go. Demise format's really fun. If you don't know what it is, I've been doing some videos on it recently. And, I've been enjoying it. It's the format based around SJC Anaheim in 2007 in April. So it used the March 2007 ban list, and it also used a card pool going up to Strike of Neos. And Strike of Neos is one of my favorite sets of all time, so how could I not love Demise format here? So I'm excited to watch some games, see what people are on, because, I mean, frankly, the meta is very, very wide open. There's never really been a retro tournament for this. There was the original tournament, but after that, no one really returned to this format, which is a shame because it seemed pretty fun. So it is very similar to Trooper. So if you're familiar with Trooper, things aren't too different there. I'd say the biggest difference is that there's no Ryza. Going for the MST chain there. I guess maybe to... I'm not sure why. Well, maybe if it's like... Yeah, I don't know why you shotgun MST there, but maybe you're planning on doing that anyways, so you might as well just fire it. But looks like there's a Reaper there in hand. And that monster's getting set. Who knows what that set monster is? We do not. Catcher probably has some guesses. Splevin probably knows. I assume Splevin knows. It'd be kind of weird if Splevin didn't know. But yeah, it's a fun one. I think I have some inklings as to what the best deck in the room is probably going to be. I think T-Hero is really good based on just personal testing. And you can see my personal testing in the videos that I made for the format. T-Hero just spoke to me. Maybe it's just a personal preference thing, but I feel like T-Heroes is so flexible in how it plays, and decks that allow for more flexibility for skilled pilots generally do a bit better than other decks, unless I will say, you know, if a deck is just like it's like just slamming cards down on the table and like winning, but it's like a really good slam down cards on the table and win deck that just dominates the meta, then that can definitely be a thing that just wins. But I do think that in general, for the vast variety of formats, decks that promote flexibility and are still very good are generally better. But that's my opinion. But what will you say, Cole? Unless you're just saying this, in which case, that's also fine. But okay, it looks like gonna attack into one of those spies, a set spy there. So hi, Unfocused Gamer as well. Welcome to the stream. Chat's popping off. We're getting people from YouTube and Twitch. Getting people all over the place. That's always fun. There are 3 troopers on field is pretty good. I mean, as I said, it's very similar to trooper format overall, so this makes sense. Tribute for a Jinzo is pretty good here. Attacking in to one of those troopers, dealing 2,000 damage. Kesha does get a draw from that, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, no worries. Take your time on the wording. I mean, the stream's not going to end anytime soon, so feel free to take all the time you need on the wording. And this is going to be pretty explosive for Keshi here, potentially. This is going to be 3,800 damage. They know that the set is a spy. So, they're able to use that knowledge to their advantage. But Cole says, basically, Demise is one of the greatest effects ever for the context of when it came out and the balancing of it. It's just a fun level of power creep. Like, it's a ritual, so it's tough. 2,000 life points is a lot. But man, when had we seen a ritual monster effect like that before? And I mean, I agree. I think that Demise is really, really neat. And also, speaking of power creep, I feel like Demise was fine for the first, couple months or maybe even years of its existence because it came out before Strike of Neos. So that shows how sort of balanced of a card it was. What really turned it around was ARA, which allowed you to set up for Doomdozer, allowed you to play some other rituals as well if you wanted to do that. But okay, it looks like they're going to tribute for a Jinja of their own. Makes sense. But that really changed the game there. And as you say, it is like they learned their lesson from Chaos Emperor Dragon, because Chaos Emperor Dragon was just so oppressive, and part of the reason why it was so oppressive was it didn't just clear the field, it also cleared both hands too. And that was just, dominating. Like that, you couldn't really play around a lot of the time. Support Pomega Trooper is always rough because Keshi gets to draw another. But, there are potential ways that they can win this one from this position. Snatch Steal's still legal here, so Snatch on Zaborg plus a monster does it. But that is a specific hand, to be fair. But, yeah, I do... One of the things that I like about doing this sort of video series and, doing what I'm doing overall with the project is just seeing, like, how the power creep occurs in real time. Like, you can look at it, like, on a macro level, like, looking back at just the cards themselves and be like, oh, yeah, this is the case, right? But I do think that, like, playing with the stuff really does hammer it home. And that's one of the funnest things about going through these formats. Cole says, my Yu-Gi-Oh! Bias is that boss monsters should have powerful effects, but no protection. So, like, Demise, Judgment Dragon, Goyo Guardian. That was a fun time. And, it's interesting. I think that it depends on the monster. I think that if it's a monster that doesn't really have a busted effect, but it just has the protection, then that is really good. But, rip Unfocused Gamer. Oh, damn. Yeah. I mean, that happens sometimes, but, I mean, the good thing about this is that, like, then next time you'll be like, oh, okay, now I need to sign up early, right, to make sure you're in. So, no worries. A lot of people playing the locals now have missed some in the past, so, I mean, that happens sometimes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's just after. But, I mean, the good thing is it's better that you missed it than you signed up and then couldn't actually play because you were asleep at the beginning. But, oh, okay, this is getting pretty explosive here. TT on the Sidra summon. Do they have a way to... Oh, no, they don't. They're just doing that to clear the Reaper. That's a big one. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I can do that, Cole. That does sound like a very interesting idea. They're asking for a video on reverse power creep or backwards power creep, where the decks in the previous formats were actually stronger than the next format. So a good example that they mentioned is when Chaos stuff got banned. Uh, and yeah, I mean that is a very interesting video idea. I think that'll be also a somewhat popular idea too. Which is always nice when you get a video that breaks out of the specific audience that you set up. So yeah, I'll do a video on that. That sounds very interesting. So yeah, that should be coming out next week. I feel like there are other examples later in the game's history. I mean, the cool thing about Yu-Gi-Oh, in my opinion, is that like because it is a game that never has set rotation, it does make things like that a lot more interesting. Like if you have games with set rotation, I feel like you have a powerful set, and it's like, whoa, things are so powerful here. But then the set rotation happens, reset things back to a more handleable or manageable level. And of course, over time, those games still go through power creep of their own. Like, look at Magic now versus Magic like way back when, and it's very, very different. But, yeah. Uh, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is just in a unique position with that, and it feels always very different. Because like they're doing reverse power creep in a way that the knock there probably will wrap up the game. Maybe not, but they're doing a reverse power creep in a way that still contains a lot of the cards that made the previous format strong. It's just you're banning the biggest ones. So yeah, Dragon Ruler and Spellbook, those getting banned. That's actually a very interesting case as well, because Dragon Rulers weren't hit entirely. Just a lot of their stuff was hit, right? Like, the baby rulers were hit. Some of the dragons were hit as well. They're all limited, things like that. But you look at like hat format, right? There are still Dragon Ruler decks running around. Like you've got Mythic Ruler, you've got Hieratic Ruler, you've got things like that in hat format, which shows that like even after the hits, they're still around. It's just they were much less powerful, and so other decks could compete. Although I guess you could argue that other decks were more powerful at that point, but like I don't necessarily think that was the case. I mean, like Geargia, I don't know. I'm trying to remember what decks were like newly introduced into hat format that weren't around beforehand. I think Geargia was new. I know Geargia was very popular in hat format. But yeah. So important note about Cyber Phoenix here, because people might be confused why Kesha did not draw there. But Cyber Phoenix, at this point in time, it only gets effect when destroyed by battle if it was in face up when it was attacked. So since it was set face down, they won't get the draw there. Very weird how it changed, but it has not changed yet in Demise format, so it is the way that it is there. Turtle coming down, Turtle attacking into one of the sets. You don't have to worry about Spy, but hitting into a Trooper, which will draw a Splove and a card. So a bit worrying for Kesha here, but I mean, you got to go aggressive at some point. You got 3 cards left in deck, so you kind of need to get the game accelerating a bit. Harpies was a deck before Hat. I mean, it did see play in a variety of different formats. I mean, Harpies has been around since like Critter. Its new support came out like closer in the Zexal era, but I'm pretty sure it received support before Hat. I could be wrong about that. Well, you could argue that Harpies is not necessarily competitive in Hat either, but like, I mean, Harpies has been like, a rogue deck for like quite some time. Like, you could argue that it's competitive at points in the GX era once it gets Harpy Queen to search out Hunting Ground and also serve as another Harpy name. You could argue that, like, I mean, in the Zexal era, it did receive some support before Hat format. I'm pretty sure, because it was you can see it like if you go to some of the discords for like may not Firewater, but like there's some other Zexal servers that have it as a deck channel. I'm pretty sure. So also the Attack Force game, where the post game content is you having to win 5 duels in a row against decks from old formats. I think there's like Full Power Dragon Rulers, Spellbooks, and Constellar. I forget which ones though. That is really interesting, and that must be a relatively new Tag Force game too, because that's like that would have to basically be set in the Arc V era, which is very neat. I didn't know they made Tag Force games up to that point, but Tag Force was a very fun game series. I mean, I just wish they made games like that again. I know they got Master Duel now, and they're putting their time into Master Duel and stuff like that. But like, I don't know, man. Like the games where you would just kind of like an RPG, but with Yu-Gi-Oh, like those were so fun. I still remember Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Transer is probably my favorite of it, just because I played it the most as a kid. and I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Transitor because the post-game content was like playing just a bunch of different decks. Like they had robots with like so many different decks, and it was just so cool. And some decks were like level up versions of older decks, and it was just awesome. So I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Transitor. I like 100% in that game, and so good. But Amazing with Cole says Harpies was used when that card came out. That could summon a Harpy from deck and become level 7 if there's a dragon, and that continuous spell that could search 3 cards if destroyed. Oh, was it Hysteric Sign was the continuous spell? Yeah, I think that was Hysteric Sign. And then I forget what the one special summon a level 7 from deck, but that is yeah, I mean those cards helped it catapult it to actually being, maybe not good, but like decent, like having a strategy, allowing it to do things. But Card Trooper getting flipped up here, milling 3. 1, 2, 3. Milling a Koichi, a knock, and a creature swap. Creature swap, very interesting in this format. I do like it here. So, I should actually dive into some other games to show what other people are playing as well. Spear MKW says, I'm still hoping a day will come where someone would Wi-Fi duel me on Pro Championship 2008 using Wi-Fi. If I had World Champion 2008, I would do that because, it's, I don't know, those games have a special place in my heart. I love those games. So seems like we got, 2 instances of hero here. Mirror forcing a card trooper always feels bad because then they get multiple there, but it is what it is. Okay, it seems like actually this might be DDT with the DMOC, or it could be a brew of Dump Truck's own because you've got Fearmonger as well, which DDT generally doesn't play. So yeah, it's a very interesting matchup here. 2 people on similar decks. Oh yeah, Heartbeat's Channeler. That's what it's called. Yeah. So many cool Heartbeat cards. No targets for Rhoda. Ugh, that's rough. And I believe you still can fail to find in this format. So it's looking pretty good for Ratos here, attacking for 1,000. Both players very low life points. And yeah, 2 locals Titans here. So this is pretty intense. Dump Truck might be knocked out here actually because Ratos won game 1. And if they don't have a way to deal with that, okay, they have Trooper. Trooper is something. But with only 900 life, that's a very scary proposition. Let's see what's engraved. Mirror Force is gone. Okay. Oh, Snatch. Okay. Snatch for Sangan. Oh, wow. Tagging him with Trooper first. Mirror Force, though, to clear that up. And that's going to be pretty bad for Dump Truck there. But not the end of the world. They do get a draw off this, so that's something. But Fearmonger does represent lethal if Dump Truck does not have a way to deal with it. The video game I mentioned, Tag Force Arc V Special. Oh, okay. Japan only. Yeah. Listen, I like cringe fan English dubs. I think they can be fun. It shows passion. So I think they're cool. And it's only cringe if you let it be cringe, If you don't embrace the cringe, then it's pretty good. Paying 800 to go for a Stratus here. Probably popping one of those back row. Popping that one. Now, Stratus does not target here. So technically, if there was a response, Dump Truck would be able to do it beforehand. But Brain Con is not what you need. But yeah, unfortunately, that's going to be the end of that game. Dump Truck getting knocked out of the locals. I'm not going to say an upset because, Arena did also very good duels. But wild. Yeah. Yeah, Snatch Steal is pretty crazy. Instant Fusion coming down here from Gerbil here. That's very cool. And Gerbil did win game 1 against what seems to be Demise OTK. I mean, I assume. But going for a Dark Balter. Now, Instant Fusion monster can't attack, so that's kind of interesting. But they're going to tribute that for a Great Maju Garzette. Wowza. That's wild. So this could be like a Fiend-style deck or something. But, yeah, I mean, Jim Bob just TTing that because that's 4,000 damage there. So, yeah. Night Dump Truck, thank you for waking up early for this one. I know that sometimes these happen a bit early for people on the West Coast of the United States, but I have polls in the YGL from Zero Discord server, and people vote for when they vote. Unfortunately, last week I had a poll that had some later times, and the later times did win, but unfortunately oh wow, double Demise. That will be the end of the game, yeah. But unfortunately something came up at the last minute and I couldn't do the later time. But I made sure this weekend that like nothing would come up at the last minute, but then the 11 a.m. time won anyways, so unfortunately it worked there. Cole said, I stopped playing these tournaments when I realized that my genius deck building couldn't make up for my poor playing skills. Also, my poor deck building skills. No worries. I mean, part of this is just a growing process, right? Like, for me, Chainsaw Insect, very interesting. Jim Bob could potentially get a draw off that if they attack into it if they want to, but very neat tech there. But, I mean, I feel like in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sphere, there's oftentimes a lot of, like, maybe not imposter syndrome, but, like, inferiority complex, where, like, you think, oh, everyone else, it comes so easy to, and, like, there's great players, they're great deck builders, but, I'm not a great player or deck builder, and maybe you lose some games, and you're like, okay, yeah, unfortunately, this doesn't quite, I can't quite do it as well as other people can, and so it sort of, like, turns you off from the game, and, like, you stop playing things like that. But I think that, honestly, a lot of people feel that way, even though they're very, very good as well. So, it's just like an inferiority complex, in my opinion. Like, I feel that way, too. Like, I don't think I'm a good deck builder, which, to be fair, I don't think, I think empirically that has been shown to be the case that I'm not the best deck builder. I'm not as good a duelist as some of the other YouTubers out there. There are YouTubers who are definitely a lot better than I am in terms of dueling. But, I do think that, like, part of playing the game, part of doing this, part of doing anything is just being like, I might not be the best, but I want to do it, and that's what I'm going to do. So, we could press Alt-Z to use GeForce Experience in the game. Oh, should we do that, chat? I don't know. But, yeah, Gerbil is really cool. Gerbil always brings, like, very, very interesting decks, and so it's very, very neat to see what they're on now. Jim Bob's going to get 2 draws here, though, so that could potentially help them out of this situation, but they're taking a lot of damage. Ring is gone, too, so, that's fair, yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone has a different sort of, like, level of modern that they're willing to accept, like, for some people, it is, like, Arc V era, when they introduce Pendulum monsters. For some people, it's when they introduce Synchro monsters. For some people, it's when they introduce the ban list, it really does change for each person. And I always say that, like, I'm making these videos for everyone out there, no matter where your level is. I hope that, like, at least this introduces you to some formats, like, from before when your level gets reached, or that, like, you find the new stuff interesting enough to give it a try or something like that. But going for the lethal line with the Chainsaw Insect, unfortunately, that TT will stop that. And that might be pretty bad for Gerbil here, although they're going to ban 2 insects. Hold up. Doom Doder comes down. Doom Doder hitting in for 2,800. That's going to be pretty fun. And the experience is I'm playing the game because I like certain cards and I get dopamine when I play them. Honestly, that's why a lot of people play the game too. Very, very common experience in my opinion. It's why people play decks based around cards that, like, are not that good, but they're like, if I pull off this card, like, I mean, that's just going to be epic. Even if I don't win the game, I just want to pull off this card. And, you got to respect people like that, Oh yeah, that'll be fun. So I'm really looking forward to the Synchro era, Cole. It should be a lot of, well, I don't know. I think a lot of the Synchro era formats are kind of awkward. Like, we'll get to that when we get to that. But, like, from what I've seen of the Synchro era outside of Edison's really good. I like Edison a lot. I think it's fun. But, like, outside of Edison, there are some iffy formats. There are some good ones as well. Lightsworn I've heard is really good, but, like, Cat is, like, kind of awkward. It could be a skill drain deck, but doesn't skill drain conflict with Maju Garzette? So that's kind of interesting. Like, is it skill drain? Is it not? Like, who's to say? But, yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Synchro era. I like, I mean, that's when I got into actually going to events. Like, not necessarily, like, big events like, regional or things like that. I didn't really have the money to spend on getting, like, a meta deck or things like that. But I would go to, like, sneak peek events because that's more of a draft format where I didn't need to, shell out for a big deck and stuff, and I could play against people with that. And I just have a lot of nostalgia for that time period. Going for a Cyber Dragon to try and hit in for the win, and that will indeed be the end of the game there. So, Megamorph as well. Yeah, Megamorph, unfortunately, not really that good with the opponent at 800 life points, but that's pretty neat. We will be having another Demise Locals next week, so look forward to that. CS. It should be a good one. Okay, it looks like we've got Aratos versus Gabi Blondie, Splevin versus Clemens, and Dump Truck playing a different game. Let's look at, let's dive into Aratos versus Gabi Blondie first. It seems like Gabi Volandi is on gadgets. I mean, that's what they won the Chimera Tech format tournament with, so makes sense there. But we'll have to see if it's able to compete against this sort of T-Hero style deck. Which I'm not sure if Aratos calls their deck T-Hero because they do things a bit differently from the standard T-Hero list, but yeah, it's still a cool deck. Cole says, I feel like there have to be formats in the 2010s that are just unplayable because the ban list does not account for some wombo combo they discovered later. I mean, that's part of the fun of diving into these formats. I always think, like, if a format does turn out to just have a tier 0 deck that no one knew at the time, that's a neat thing because, like, you know, it's discovery. It's like playing things in a way that's different from what came before. So, yeah, it's very, very cool. Gren Maju got hand ripped every time I drew it, but the power of Beatstick miraculously triumphs. Ooh, Gren Maju, very interesting. Why is it called T? There's a couple reasons for why it's called T. The main thing is it's named after its creator, Thirasak, I think Punsambat? Yeah, Thirasak Punsambat, the creator of the deck. I apologize if I mispronounced that. But so that's the T of their name, because their name starts with T. So T-Hero like that. It also does play Card Trooper, so Trooper Hero as well. But I think the main reason was the name of the player. So, but still, I like the name T-Hero because I just like when Yu-Gi-Oh has cool deck names beyond just like, you know, Mass Control or like Beatdown or like something like that, because, you know, you look at names of decks and things like Magic the Gathering, where like they have some crazy names for decks. And you look at the names in Yu-Gi-Oh and you're like, ah, man, I wish we had some cool deck names like that are like, not necessarily based on the cards themselves, but other things. And T-Hero does have that a little bit. So, yeah, if I invent a deck, it could be the Zeros Heroes. That's actually pretty neat. That incentivized me to make more hero decks in the future. So, I'll keep that in mind. I may be doing another hero deck later in the format, like, because Skyscraper 2 is out in this format. So, like, you could potentially play that with Stratos. It's a bit awkward because Stratos is like your only good target to bring back off that. Like later on, you get Elemental Hero Ocean, which is also good to bring at because you can recycle your Stratos as well. But yeah, with just Stratos, it's kind of awkward. But yeah, best deck name of all time, Troop Troop Scoop. I love that name of a deck. I'm not sure how good it is in this format and the next format, even though next format is named Trooper. So like, you know, it's what gave that format its namesake. But like in hindsight, I think there are potentially better things that you can be doing. Kind of like within this format with Demise, like I think there are better things you can be doing than Demise OTK, even though it gives the deck gives the format its name. But yeah, I love Skyscraper 2. Such a unique effect, and also so cool that there managed to be a competitive strategy with it. I mean, you had who was it? It was a very, very famous YouTuber. I think it was like I forget the name right now. Which is my bad, but going for a smashing on the Mally is interesting. I guess just to get in more damage, because this is 1,000 plus 18, so that's 28. Oh, the Crush card, the CCV going through there. Very good patience from Aratos, waiting for the attack on the Sangan there. Most people would have just gone for a Crush card on the Mally, but smashing doesn't actually target, so like it would still kill the Sangan there. So actually, I guess that doesn't really makes sense to chain Crush card to smashing. So, yeah. I mean, it's better than some ban cards, I'll say. But yeah, probably not most of them. But yeah, that Crush card can go pretty hard here. Treating that Sangan, getting rid of the Cyber Twin, getting a peek at that hand as well, which is very important. And also all of Gabi Volandi's draws in the future. Now, as a note, Crush card is not quite as good against Gadgets because Gadgets has so many monsters that sneak under Crush card. So that might be coming out in game 2. But either way, this is a very, very good turn for Aratos here. Heavy Storm, limiter getting chained to that to protect the green Gadget here for this turn. Of course, the green Gadget will be popped in the end phase, but you do this because... Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that actually does it. Yeah. How does a machine get sick? I don't know. How does a machine get sick? It rusts, yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, that's for Crush card. Yeah, I mean, there are computer viruses. So, the Twin Dragon would not be affected by Crush card in Duel's Kingdom. But, yeah, I mean, computer viruses. Maybe it's like, I use the Crush Card computer virus. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. Okay, looks like we need a report here for Jim Bob and Gerbil. But after that, we should be good. Okay, seems like this is macro gadgets. That's very interesting. I do like that innovation, though. It's kind of neat. A lot of gadget decks don't play macro, or I guess dim fizz or whatever. But, you know, that should be banished there. But it does have some anti-meta application against variety decks. It has anti-meta application against Demise. You can't ARA, I believe. Or maybe you can ARA, but you can't get the Doom Dozer out afterwards, at least. T-Hero's hurt by it a lot. Some of the Trooper decks are hurt by it, too. So, very, very neat innovation from Clemens here. And Yellow Gadget coming down, and that's going to be the end of the game. So, yeah, no effect there. Probably playing around pulling the rug, but I'm not really sure it's necessary at that point. But either way, we've got... I mean, it's just these two games, so let's, I guess, dive back into Ragos versus Gabu Blondie. It's funny that two of the buys were gadget decks, so that's kind of neat. Let's see here. Can we get that report in? Is the question. I'll just report the Gerbil and Jim Bob game. So the winner was Gerbil, and the non-winner was Jim Bob. So I'll put that in there, and I'll go through. Dust Shoot pretty good against gadgets. I do think Dust Shoot is, if not a main deck card, it's definitely a side deck card for things like gadgets, things like Demise. Dust Shoot really, really hurts those decks. Anything that like is just constantly searching out monsters from their deck. Dust Shoot's pretty good against. Minecraft's pretty good against as well. Okay, ARA is fine because it's not a cost. Okay, so we'll be able to trigger ARA. It'll just banish the thing sent. So, oh, sorry, I just punched my mic. Yeah, I hope that wasn't too loud there. Yeah, it looks like those spies are coming out here. I'm curious why they didn't send back the Sangan. But I guess maybe if that's the last gadget train there, you want to send that back. But like, if they draw into another gadget, which they've got 8 other gadgets in deck, if they do have that, then I mean, I don't remember what they sent back. I think I was looking away when that happened. So yeah, the spies are going to wall up gadgets pretty nicely, though. So, send one, send another, passing back. On the topic of ARA, I just want to say ARA is such a cool card. It's just, I love it. Striking Ish has so many cool things for, like, older strategies, and ARA is a perfect example of that. Investing with Colson, during new format discussions, can you have a segment going over questionable things still on the ban list? Example, Tsukiyomi ban for too long. I might do that, but the issue that I've noticed with those sort of new format discussion videos is, well, one, I mean, they don't generally do that well, which could arguably mean that I could just fit things in to have them there for the people who actually do enjoy them. But two, I've noticed that when I make it more about the format itself, people tend to not like it as much. And when I make it more about the new cards that are added and like the new list itself, like, I mean, I guess I could say it in the new list itself part, but like, yeah, I mean, when I make it about like the format itself, people tend not to like it as much. So I generally just focus on the new cards instead. And I sort of just cover the list just to talk about like what is banned, what is not, just to set the scene. And I'll sort of mention when I cover the list in the future. I'll mention like, you know, maybe this thing didn't need to be here. But it probably won't be like a separate section. I'll probably just fold it into the existing coverage of the list. So yeah, so I'll add that. But it won't be its own section. So that's what I'll say there. Yeah. Yeah, I feel kind of bad about how the format discussion videos have turned out over time. I mean, people still seem to enjoy them somewhat, but like, you know, it's just I had to shift how they worked based on feedback and what people actually enjoy about them and not enjoy about them. You know, my initial conception for those videos were just going to be like, okay, if you're diving into the format from nothing, like, here are all the things you need to know. So, you know, the initial conception would be also talking about like, which cards are legal that aren't necessarily new additions, but are good cards to know about and include in your decks and things like that. But as time went on, it became kind of infeasible to do that, and also people didn't really enjoy that aspect of it. So, yeah. Investment Cole said the best kind of cards, spell cards with insanely broken effect, balanced only by the fact that they require normal monsters. That's very fun. It's also the basis of the Blue Eyes archetype later as well. So I just love decks that play a Garnet in the deck. I mean, Garnet comes from one of those effects, right? Brilliant Fusion is a spell card that lets you bring out Geminite Seraphinite, which is a very, very good card for extending combos and doing things like that. But it also is a card that requires you to, Heavy Storm here, hitting 3 of their own back row, but also 3 of their opponents. So that's pretty interesting there. But Brilliant Fusion also a card that requires you to play the fusion material in the deck in the form of Geminite Garnet, which is just a normal monster that doesn't do anything. So, if you drew into the Garnet, Brilliant Fusion was shut off, and that made it very, very frustrating. So the name of the sort of thing became Garnet. Going for a Finks with Moonblast targeting the Sandgan there. Will that go through? Or is there a Crush card potentially in the Gadget deck as well? But, yeah, I mean, no one's like, it's just the way that the, sort of, I don't want to say YouTube meta because that always sounds so weird to me, but like, it's just the way that people, watch the videos in general. But, I still like making them. Like, I'll still make the format discussion videos, because I think they're very, very essential. Why didn't they use Shrink on the Spy? Oh, they just got a Smashing. I guess they didn't need it, but like, you could have saved the Smashing, right? Don't you want to save Smashing? Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just Shrink the Spy. Because then they get over it with the Gadget, and then they save their Smashing for later, and then they can just keep the aggressive pressure going. Maybe they've got another Smashing here, but I think that's actually a major misplay on QB Blondie's part. But, yeah, I like actually using the monsters in my deck. And that's one of the nice things about old school Yu-Gi-Oh, as you say, Cole. Because, like, okay, Snipe Hunter, I guess, can deal with that monster as well. But, like, I mean, I don't know. It just feels weird to me that they do that. But, I mean, this might be the end of the game. It depends on if this actually hits. And it will not. That's Snipe Hunter for you. That's the Snipe Hunter experience. Oh. But again, if they had one more card in hand, if they had saved the Smashing and used the Shrink on the Spy, maybe that third thing would have been a pop. You never know. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know I need to do the all caps hyperbole thing. I do that. I try to do that a little bit in my own way. Like, for instance, my latest video, which was finally good legacy support, right? Like, if you click on that video, like, from a modern Yu-Gi-Oh perspective, you're like, oh, what's this legacy support that's going to be good in modern day and stuff? But, like, realistically, the video is not that. Realistically, the video is just me talking about an old Dark World deck from Demise format, 2007, that received some good legacy support as well. But yeah, I should go back to the, yeah, I did see, someone was upset with me for claiming that Dark World getting legacy support, even though it was only 2 years ago. But I do, I do think that, like, it is a reasonable thing to call it, because, like, in the context of the time, it was the first legacy support that ever came out in the game, in my opinion, because it was for a strategy that had not been done anything with for, like, the past 2 years. And, like, before that point, any support that came out for older archetypes was always just a continuous stream of it, right? Like, you look at Aliens. Aliens, from Power of the Duelist, when they're introduced, all the way, we're in Strike of Neos right now, to Strike of Neos, they've been receiving support. They're going to receive more support in Force of Breaker. They're going to keep receiving support throughout the GX era. And because it's continuous support, because they keep getting that, it's not like legacy support, because it's just sort of like one continuous wave of support going out. So I view that as non-legacy support. I just view that as support. But something like this, where there's a big gap in time, and of course not as big as the game eventually gets, but like when there's a big gap in time like this, and based on the percentage of the game's history, this was a big gap in time. I mean, the game's been around for 5 years in the States, and this is 2 years of those 5 years, so that is like 40% of the game's history is that gap. For that time, it was a very long one. But I agree, Snipe Hunter does hate me and my family. It hates everyone. Snipe Hunter is just a bad I mean, it's such a rough card to play with. And I mean, this should be the end of the game because Sentry shuts off those traps there. And actually, this might not be lethal. No, it is lethal. It's lethal damage. I guess what you could do, this Spirit Reaper, it's after resolving a card effect. And if it's negated, will that count as resolving it? Yeah, I think it would still target, yeah. I think that is probably correct, but either way, like, I think this is fine. I don't think that Arade is at risk of dying here. I love Alien Ammonite. Oh, it's so good. And then Golgar. Golgar is so good as well. Like, I love Aliens post Crimson Crisis. It's just so neat. I'm gonna be exploring with that in the 5Ds era. It's just so fun. And then they have Planet Pollutant Virus as well, which is so good. Oh, it's so cool. I love Aliens just in general. So I'm excited for when that comes out. I'm probably not gonna do an Alien video for Demise, but another Snipe Hunter. They're going crazy with it. Snipe Hunter pitch, target Sentry maybe. Let's see what happens. Will it be another miss? Will it be a hit? Look at another miss. So it seems like even if they had that third card in hand, maybe things would have changed. But another Snipe Hunter. Snipe Hunter going for Sentry. And hit. Will it matter? No. But like, yeah. Mysterious Triangle is very interesting. Unfortunately, the things that you fetch off Triangle are like all uniformly bad. That's the problem with Aliens. Like the cards in the deck are like actually all terrible. Like it's so sad. Muskie is like the only decent one, the only thing to like build towards there in that deck, but even that is just kind of like, ooh, yeah. Let's see here. Where is there's Splovin versus Clemens diving in. It seems like it's 1-1. So, but yeah, Snipe Hunter second. I'm with you with that, Gerbil. I hate playing Snipe Hunter because every time I use it, there's 1s and 6s all the way through. So it always hurts, but yeah, Aliens are like Ice Barriers, but there's more like sort of unity to what Aliens do than Ice Barriers. Like Ice Barrier always felt to me like a bunch of cards that do different. They're kind of like OG Gravekeepers in a way, where OG Gravekeepers, they're doing different things. Some of them slightly synergize, but mostly it's just like, they're like, oh, you want burn stuff? We got burn stuff. You want special summon stuff? We got special summon stuff. And like, it doesn't really fully synergize. Ice Barriers are very similar to me because like, you know, the synchros are all great, right? But like, you look at the monsters themselves and it's like, they do completely different things. So it's kind of wild. But I love worms. Worms are so cool. Like, I'm going to be doing stuff with worms when we get to worms. Don't you worry. Spear MKW says, bro, I remember way back as a kid downloading player data online in a Synchro Era World Championship DS game, and one of them played Alien deck post support. Let's go. The OG goats. The OG goats playing those Alien decks. So fun. But yeah, Meteorite is cool. I think there are stuff you could potentially do with Worm Zero. I mean, I think Worm Prince is like a really good one. I forget exactly which they are. One of the coolest things about worms to me is their name theming. And I didn't even realize this for a very long time, but each of the worms like is a different letter of the alphabet. Like you got Worm Apocalypse, you got Worm, I think Baros, you got Worm Catalypse or something, I think it's called. I can't go through all the worms. I'm not going to go through all the worms, but like each one starts with a different letter of the alphabet. I'm not sure they're quite done filling them out, so we might get more worm support in the future. I don't think they've gone through all 26, but the original boss monster of worms, Worm Zero, is the Z, so that's kind of neat. And of course, the best two worms, Worm Zex and Jagen, are X and Y. So end of the alphabet is overpowered with worms. So Banisher, maybe. I mean, I get why gadgets play Snipe Hunter in the deck because like they're generally going to be up on cards because they're searching out gadgets every turn. But I do think it's like, it's kind of awkward. Oh, yeah. I'm going to do a YGO from Worm Zero video. Don't you worry. I love Worm Zero. I think it's a really neat card. Is it good? Not really. Does it look really cool? Yes. I'm going to play it. Worms are just so neat. I'm going to play them the heck out of them when they come around. I love a lot of the Hidden Arsenal cards in general. But yeah, it's going to be the end of the game. So Macro Gadgets winning a game against, well, looks to be, I'm actually not, I guess it's Troop Scoop deck there. So yeah, that means that we'll get Macro Gadgets versus Gerbil's Beatdown deck, and we've got Aratos as the finalist here. So that should be pretty good there. But I can't wait for YGO from Worm Zero. It's going to be so good. It's going to be peak. But yeah. Yeah, the fusion was the Z, the big bad at the end of the game. Looks like that game has not started yet. I'm just going to pull up Worm Zero to show everyone here because I just find the deck really fun. This is just the Dark World deck that I showed off last time. But oh, look at that. Look at that card. It's so cool. It looks so cool. And it's made with 2 or more reptile worms. And then it gains effect for basically each fused material monster with a different name. It gains 500 attack as well. So it's like Chimeritic Overdragon at home. With 2+, you get to special summon a worm monster face down defense from your graveyard. 4+, you get to remove from play a reptile monster from graveyard. Send 1 monster on the field to graveyard. And then 6+, 1 per turn, you can draw 1 card. Such a cool card. I mean, oh my god, that is just so neat. So cool. I love Worm Zero. And it's even above like the Future Fusion City in that artwork. So like it knows how you're summoning it, right? But it's so good. I don't know if it's called Flash Gadget in the OCG, but I call it Macro Gadget here because whenever decks play like Dimfuse stuff and like people call it macro, whatever, which makes sense because macro is a common prefix in English. So like it makes sense that in the English speaking TCG, you would get decks that are called macro blank because it fits, you know. I'm still waiting for the FDK with macroeconomics, where it's spell economics and macro concepts somehow. I think that would be neat. Dual terminal lore, I might not go through because I don't really know as much as other people do, but it would be neat. But yeah, I mean that's the flaw, Ratos, is that like there aren't enough good worms to make it work. But like I love worms so much. I love it. That Chainsaw Insect's banished. That is very important. Unless there's something. No, it is banished. So I'm just gonna message to Gerbil real quick. Yeah, just because that can come up, like that is important there. Okay, it looks like they got it. Oh, okay, yeah, it is the OCG name for Macro Gadgets. I generally just call things by their TCG name unless the OCG already adopted that name in the past. Just because, like, I do find it interesting that they're going for the 2,000 attack point level. Actually, that might be the limit on level 5. Now that I think about it, because normally I think about like Scientist, but Scientist brings out level 6s as well, so you get 2200s there. Cole says, I typically play cards that say gain effects for each number of things to do, like which will be its name for Rainbow Dragon. Rainbow Ruins, you mean, yeah. I love Rainbow Ruins. It's a very, very neat field spell, especially in a set that has a bunch of field spells. Isn't, the Dim Fizz came up afterwards. Okay. So, yeah, it's cool that Maju Garzette also doesn't require things to go to graveyard for the tributes, so that's kind of neat. But yeah, DD Survivor's up on field now, and that's going to be a bit tricky for Gerbil here to deal with potentially. They do have a side rest, so Sidra will be able to get over the Survivor and get in for some damage, but unfortunately that Survivor comes back. It does be surviving, and so if they've got like a Monarch or something to do stuff with, then that's going to be a bit awkward for them. But I do love Worm Apocalypse. It is a very, very good spell trap hate option in formats without much of it. So very, very cool card there in general. Probably the best of the worms, maybe before like Zex and Jagen and stuff come out. Tribute summoning over for a Cyber Dragon pretty good here because the Survivor will come back. And so then, you know, you can hit over the Survivor, but next turn the Cyber Dragon's going to crash into that Cyber Dragon. Survivor can get in for 18. So, yeah, it's a bit awkward for Gerbil here. I mean, they might have stuff to do. If they bring out like if they bring out Jinzo, I mean, Jinzo works. The Sidra is banished as well, but that won't matter as much as the Chainsaw Insect, so I'm not really going to mention it too much. They'll probably catch it at some point here as well. But, okay, there we go. Yeah. Switching the Survivor to defense, I think that makes sense because you are in a pretty vulnerable position, although you could argue that leaving an attack means that if Gerbil summons out a weak monster, then they can't get over to that way. But you've seen the... You've seen like Chainsaw Insect, you've seen Insect Knight, so you know that they're playing a fair amount of big guys. But yeah, like Survivor is just crazy sometimes. Putting good use into that Sangan there. I mean, Sangan will be banished when it leaves the field, but if it can get over Survivor, that's pretty good. Dropping Clemens down to 700 there. Yeah, Survivor feels like cheating, honestly. It's just like, keeps coming back, keeps surviving. It's wild. Unfortunately, the decks that you play it in, if you don't draw that combo, it can be very awkward for you. But, if you do, you feel like a god. So this is going to be pretty rough for Clemens here if they've got another monster, and it looks like that is another monster there. So Sangan attacking into the Survivor. It do be surviving. Jinzo attacking into the set monster there, and that's going to be the end of the game. So, yeah, very interesting game there. Gerbil was able to turn it around, despite that dim fuse being up and causing some problems with the Survivor there. But, yeah, we'll have to see what goes on in games 2 and 3. I'm not sure Gerbil saw much of the gadget package in that game, but from the previous game we had on stream with the gadgets, they might bring in gadget heat. Clemens could also side out some gadget stuff if they don't want that, but I feel like gadget is good against a general beatdown deck. But I don't know. We'll have to see. But we're going in to the game 2. Gerbil going second here. Clemens drawing for turn. Going for a coffee. I mean, that's pretty good. First turn coffee is always a good thing here. It's just wild to me how long they were like, yeah, having a free hand rip in the format is a good thing. Like, they do this basically, I mean, from the hand rip introduction to the format right after Trooper, I think, is because Trooper is the last format with coffee legal, I think. So they did have free hand rips, like no conditions. It's just like rip a card out of hand, you know. It's just so rough. DD Survivor Monarchs is fun if you manage to pull it off. My issue with the deck is that whenever I play it, I always either draw the Survivors or I draw the Bansh stuff, and there's like no in between. So like it's always rough there. But yeah, they fear the Great Maju. It's a very scary card. But it seems like we got Chainsaw Insect, Mirror Force probably, Doomdozer, and Gumo in hand. Gumo coming down, potentially gonna have the life points here, but you know. If you just got a big guy that can't be dealt with, you know, you don't really care as much about having your life points. Gerbil could also just sit on this and leave it there and be like, okay, I'm not going to attack or take the risk. It looks like they are going to sit on it. So that to me, I think is fine. It can be punished if they tribute over for like Mobius or like Zaborg or something, but like looks like they're not going to do that. So leaving that. Gumo in attack there as just a wall basically. No need to attack into the set yet. Gadgets to the deck I had to play to understand. I was like, who cares about advantage if I'm just getting a 1200 monster? Yeah, it is one of those decks that like you don't get until you actually play it. And like playing it and realizing it is just such a revelation. It's like, wow, I'm just able to keep ahead of what my opponent's doing. I can clear their monsters, get a monster to hand. This is awesome. This is incredible. And I do think that, you know, it's a very good deck in this era. But I do think that like it's not generally not the best deck ever, but like it is an extremely good deck for okay, Jujutsu Master is pretty good there. Setting that Gumo back to the top of the deck. But it's a pretty good deck for like learning, I think, as well. Oh, okay, that's pretty good. Widespread Chain Cosmos, so that will banish the Insect Knight there. Widespread also gets banished, but I mean that shouldn't really matter. Jiragumo was played by what anime character? Was that one of the Paradox brothers that played Jiragumo? I'm trying to remember. I think it might have been one of the Paradox brothers. It's very much their aesthetic. The like obvious choice would be Weevil, but I don't think the Weevil played Jiragumo. He was playing like other insects. He was playing like Great Moth stuff. So I'm gonna say Paradox Brothers. Final answer, locking it in. And I'm very much prepared to be wrong. But I do think it's the Paradox Brothers. That Gumo coming down. Is Gumo going to hit in? Nope, it will not. Passing back. A yellow gadget coming down. Getting a search out here. Those gadgets do be gadgeting. I know what anime character the gadgets were played by. They were played by Yugi in the final duel. Yeah, there's a smashing, and that's going to be a lot of damage here if Gerbil chooses to take it. Looks like they're going to switch the red to defense just to play around the Mirror Force, though. So now Gerbil's got a bit of a choice. Do you take it? Do you not? Looks like they will indeed take that because they want to save the Mirror Force for a bigger fish to fry, potentially. They're going to bring out the Chainsaw Insect and just pass back. Not wanting to give Clemens the draw here. Draw into potentially removal for the Chainsaw Insect. And also not wanting to attack into removal. But that green comes down to search something out. Yay, I was right. The Paradox Brothers. Let's go. Oh, glad that my anime trivia did not fail me there. Legendary Jujutsu Master is one of my favorite underrated cards. It's a good body and takes away so much momentum. Yeah, it is a very, very cool card indeed. Shrink is going to make work of that Chainsaw Insect there, dropping it down by 200 and also drawing Clemens a card. So it seems like Gadget is in a pretty commanding position in this game. I'm not sure really how Clemens can lose the game from this position, but you never know what. Oh, yeah, it's going to be the end of the game. Yep. They're like, I can't deal with this, and that's just going to be it. So we're going into game 3. We got the macro Monarch deck, or macro Gadget deck, that is. We haven't seen any Monarchs out of it. We got the macro Gadget deck versus Gerbil's Brew here. Gerbil's Beatdown, Insect, Maju Garzette Brew. Very, very cool stuff. Very, very cool concept, because basically the idea is you're playing a bunch of big insects, right? And how do you take advantage of those big insects' attack? Summon out great Maju Garzette. And that's pretty neat. So I like that. For how early of a card it was and having 2200 attack, I'm actually shocked Dragumo doesn't also negate its attack with a Tails. There was certainly a worse restriction for 2000 attack cards. I think, like, the idea is if it negated its effect on a Tails, then, like, it would just be really bad. Like, you never want to play it. Like, the reason why you play Dragumo, in terms of, like, in my opinion, like, the brain receptors that say, oh, I want to play Dragumo, is, like, because you're swinging in with a big guy. You're always swinging with a big guy. And the risk that comes from losing half your life is a good enough deterrent to be like, okay, I'm not, like, getting away with murder here, but also it's not preventing you from doing what you want to be doing, which is attacking him with a big guy. If you had a chance to negate your attack every time you did it, you'd be like, oh, this card's too frustrating. I just want to attack with it. You know, I don't care about the life points. I just care about attacking, right? So that's why I think that it works the way that it does. It's also why I prefer Jaragumo to Dark Elf, because Dark Elf occasionally wind up in situations where you don't have enough life points to attack with it, whereas Jaragumo, you can always attack with it. I mean, there's also the issue that, like, Jaragumo did not get over 2k defenders, which is a big thing in formats like Critter and Treasure, and formats with Jaragumo in them that Jaragumo could potentially see play in. But, yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion on the card. Some people prefer Dark Elf. I don't. I will say for Dark Elf, the one nice thing about it is that it's a guaranteed life point reduction, which does come up for, like, Megamorph stuff. But, yeah, I could see a Pokemon TCG stuff having an effect like that. I haven't played much Pokemon TCG, but it does seem fun. You know, if people want me to play around with that, doing a truly Pokemon from zero, because I have zero knowledge of that game pretty much, then that would be a fun thing I'd be willing to do if there's a way to play it on an online simulator like this. That's one of the reasons why I picked Yu-Gi-Oh! For my channel. Partly because I love the game. Like, I've loved it since I was a kid, and I'm very, very passionate about it. I mean, I wouldn't still be making videos about it if I was not passionate about it. But also because Duel Links is such a good resource for doing these formats. And no other card game that I know of has a resource like it for it. So, yeah. Yeah, Boar Soldier is really, really bad. Yeah, Gumo does get over Sidrus. That is nice. And also, importantly, Sidrus does not get over it, so it serves as a pretty good wall here as well. Now, the question is, dribble attack him with a Gumo, trying to hit over that red, potentially risking half their life, or do they just let this stand? You know, they're like, maybe I don't want to attack in to that gadget and risk my life. Looks like they are going to go for it. I respect it. I respect the hustle. And it looks like it will pay off. Just free attacks. Who cares? Okay, there is a simulator. Okay, yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I might do that at some point then. Shrink will still, get rid of that Gumo, but now that's 2 insects in grave. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of people are making Pokemon side content, which is cool. So maybe I should get into that as well. I think that probably, like, further down the pipeline for me, though. Because right now it's already enough of a thing to make Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, because I try and get out the Yu-Gi-Oh! Content pretty quickly. And, I try and go for quantity, not necessarily over quality. I do think that there are videos out there that are more high quality than mine, right? Like I sort of just jam it and then like hustle it out and get it out into the world. But yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of time, so I'm not sure if I necessarily have time to put a ton into a Pokemon TCG channel, but it could be pretty fun to do eventually. But yeah, Pokemon from Zero would be cool. I used to play Pokemon IRL a lot more than Yu-Gi-Oh, so I have fond memories of some old formats. Yeah, I'm very down to try it out at some point. But again, it's just like sort of a thing where I don't necessarily have the time right now to do it. But like at some point, I'm definitely down to. And also, if someone wants to do it as well, like I'm not claiming sole intellectual property over this concept, right? Like if someone wants to do this, you can definitely do it as well. Don't need to wait for me to do it, but oof, those Megamorphs. And yeah, just kind of a rough spot to be in. Yeah. So yeah, no Dozer that game. Maybe it would have made a difference there, but yeah, it's gonna be the end of that one. And yeah, I mean the funny thing is that and this may sound like blasphemy, I'm not the biggest fan of Pokemon video games. I think the only way I enjoy Pokemon video games is through Nuzlocke, which I would be down to do a Nuzlocke. But like to me, like the issue that I have with Pokemon games, this is gonna sound really weird, especially given that I'm talking about a Nuzlocke here. The issue that I have is that after a certain point, like you catch a bunch of Pokemon, but the Pokemon you're catching like don't do anything for you, right? You just catch them to catch them, and then you never use them in your party, right? So like to me, as someone who like wants to use all the Pokemon they're catching and be like, oh yeah, I've got the Pokemon in my collection. This is the perfect Pokemon for this situation. I want to use it now. That really doesn't happen that often, right? For a Nuzlocke, the reason why it kind of solves that issue for me is because, your Pokemon are all valuable, right? They could die at a moment's notice, and if one dies, you need to bring in another one to, take its place, right? So I do think that I enjoy Nuzlocks a lot. I think they're really neat. I've never actually completed a full Nuzlocke. I did a partial Nuzlocke with a friend of mine. We were doing like one of those team Nuzlocks where like, or maybe not team Nuzlocke, but like a synchronized Nuzlocke. So like we got to synchronize our captures and like things like that. But we didn't actually finish that one. Mainly because like it was funny. Like we captured Snorlax at like different times, and like because the synchronization thing had to have us do it at the same time, it made things really weird. But I just do a solo Nuzlocke at that point. Maybe that's something to stream on Twitch, because I do want to do more just Twitch exclusive content. Not necessarily saying that I'm going to neglect the YouTube channel side of things, but I do think it's just good to grow across multiple platforms. And I've been trying to grow across Twitch. It would be nice to reach 50 followers on Twitch, because that gets you to a certain like Twitch goal, like a landmark thing on Twitch. I think that is the point where you get subs on Twitch as well. So that'd be cool to do. And yeah, I think I'll probably stream on Twitch tomorrow. I might do a Maskets challenge if you want to see that on Twitch tomorrow. It should be fun. So stay tuned for that. And I'll be posting in the Discord when I do it. But it should be a lot of fun. So, yeah. But yeah, D-Draw going through there, pitching a Mally. Are they going to banish the Mally? Bring in another Mally? That's the question. Okay, it looks like they're just going to set one, pass back. Not using the Mally just yet. So this to me says that they don't have a Mally in hand, because I think if you did have a Mally in hand, you'd just be like, oh, let's get it out of there. But they could have also just been waiting for the Banisher to come down, because Banish is awkward. Oh, banishing the Disc Commander. No! Oh, that's rough. That is rough there. You can still bring out a Mally, though, and do stuff with that. So that's okay, but then you're leaving a dead Mally in your deck. So kind of awkward. I didn't release any of my Twitch exclusive streams as a video. I did a Twitch exclusive stream, just streaming like Airblade duels, just like playing that deck with the anti-spell fragrance stuff, but it wasn't like unique enough to do a video on it. I could like start releasing the Twitch streams as like the VODs as videos as well. I'd probably do that like on a second channel, because that's for the second channel. It's very easy to manage, but I don't do enough Twitch streams to make that worth it right now. But yeah, Rage is going to admit defeat there. Yeah, not enough to deal with the Banisher. So rough stuff there, for sure. But game 2, they might bring in things to stop the Dimfuse stuff. I'll have to see exactly how that goes. I will say for the Twitch exclusive content, it wouldn't necessarily be things that are Yu-Gi-Oh related. It might be other stuff too. Because I wouldn't put that on the main channel because I feel like on YouTube, they like it when you're in a neat little box for like, oh, this YouTube channel has this type of content, right? This YouTube channel has Yu-Gi-Oh content. So if you like Yu-Gi-Oh, you'd like this channel, right? And if I like do a stream of, for instance, people were mentioning, I should do some like gaming from zero for like Dark Souls and stuff and going through the Dark Souls series, which I am very down to do, at some point. If I did that, I wouldn't do it on the main YouTube channel because again, people like, unless you get to a certain point where people are following you for like your personality and like for you, that sort of content doesn't necessarily translate well to a specific, YouTube, niche. But, yeah, I probably did a live duel that I uploaded as a YouTube video. Yeah, but I've not taken my stream content and like taken the VOD and made it into a YouTube video yet. At some point in the future I might, because it's just like basically free content, but right now, I have not. So yeah. Okay, Comfy ripping out a yellow, so that means that there probably are no other gadgets in hand. Bringing out a Stratos as well, going for Stratos to search something, maybe either a Mally or a Disc Commander, something like that. Maybe trying to get an engraved before, the macro or the Dim Fizz come down. But they're going to set one pass back, so no D-draw yet. Kind of unfortunate. You want to have the D-draw right away because then you can D-draw, pitch, Disc Commander, get engraved, so that way, even if they set up a macro or a Dim Fizz, you still have access to an engraved to draw some cards. But looks like Clement's going to set two pass back. And what will Aratos do from here? Going for Dust Shoot. Oof, Dust Shoot is rough. Dust Shoot is rough on a hand like this. But welcome to the channel, Dominators. Happy to have new blood out there. So, yeah. We're playing in Demise format now. We got a locals going on. We hold these locals every week. So if you want to participate in any in the future, you can definitely head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server where we run the events. But if you don't want to play, you can also just watch, and that is fine as well. But yeah, if you like retro Yu-Gi-Oh content, you're in the right place because that's what we got here. So, yeah, always cool to see new people. Because, I mean, the ultimate goal of the channel, in my opinion, is just grow the retro community as a whole and get people to know about formats that, like, they might not have known about before. Like, everyone knows about Goat, Edison, Tengu Plant, things like that. The big ones that get all the press, but, like, no one really mentions Demise format. I mean, the reason for that is because, no one really played Demise format until I reached it on the channel. But, there's a lot of formats out there that are really fun that people just don't know about and thus don't play. And the goal of this channel is to potentially change that. So, widespread stopping that Stratos there is going to be pretty good for Clemens, but also that Stratos gets engraved now, where it could potentially be used to, revive and pop like a Dim Fuse or a macro or something like that. So, yeah, you want that, like, Dim Fuse or macro up before getting rid of that, but, Clemens did what they had to do. Going for a heavy on that back row, 1-for-1 removal with a heavy isn't terrible. Getting rid of a Phoenix Wing Windblast, pretty good card to get rid of. Dim Fizz coming down, Snatch on the Warrior Lady as well, so that presents a bit of a problem for Aratos here, unless they draw into a heavy at some point. They're going to take 15, gain 1,000 from the Snatch, and they probably have a way to deal with this, but if they don't, then Clemens is in a pretty decent spot. Yeah. That's always the sad thing, Dump Truck, but that's why I try and do that. What deck do I think is the strongest in Demise format? I think like a T-Hero deck is strongest. T-Hero is a deck that basically you play Stratos to get into things like Disc Commander, Mally, Dasher even, and Fearmonger as well. And you're basically trying to loop Disc Commanders to draw a bunch of cards. You're trying to use Mallies to go into like Metamorphosis plays or Monarch plays as well. There's just a lot of flexibility in how the deck functions at a given point. Very, very non-linear as well. And it's just a really, really cool deck. And it just is, it can like OTK occasionally. It can just set up a really good board state that your opponent can't really deal with. It can do a lot of things really well. And so that's why it is my current favorite and the one that I currently think is best in the format. That may be biased because I do, I really enjoy playing it. But I do think that decks that are more flexible, and provide a variety of different options in a variety of different situations are generally better than decks that, like Demise OTK, for instance, which it generally wants to do one thing, and that one thing is disgusting. but it's very linear. And if the opponent knows it's coming, they can potentially stop it and hold their interaction for when they need to stop it, right? But yeah, yellow gadget coming down, yellow gadget getting a search. The gadget engine online, and that might be pretty bad for Ratos here, especially with that dim fuse up, preventing them from getting good value off the disc commander here. Warrior Lady attacking in to the set, so that can banish that if it's a monster here. But Death Tornado coming down for the Snatch Steal, not for the dim fuse. That's very interesting there. Yeah. Okay, Demise is a king. That is true, Gerbil. I misspoke. He's the king! The king! All hail. Interesting. So that's a yeah, you kind of had to dust the Snatch there because the Warrior Lady was going to banish the Sangan anyways, but at least this way you get your Warrior Lady back, so that makes sense to me. It's kind of rough that the Sangan is now gone. But if Aratos has a way to deal with that dim fuse, then I think we get pretty good here. But the red gadget walls up the Warrior Lady, so kind of awkward. Kind of awkward. But, you know, awkward spots are really fun to dig your way out of. So we'll have to see if Aratos will be able to dig their way out of this one. Gadget is also a very good deck in this format, I think. It's good for the same reason it was in Chimeric format, which is the previous format that I covered on the channel, where it actually won an event. In that it still just does its thing, you know, summon on a gadget, search out another gadget, and then, you know, use 1-for-1 removals to deal with your opponent's monsters while you keep your own monsters coming, and that's very good. I mean, there are some outs to it now, like pulling the rug as released in Strike of Neos, and so now decks play that on the side, which it does hurt gadgets a bit there, but it does have some nice benefits. It dodges Crush Card Virus, for instance, which is very good. So yeah. I don't know, maybe Gadgets is the best deck in the format. I still think T-Hero has it outclassed in a lot of different ways because it can, again, be more flexible, whereas Gadgets has a very linear game plan. But, you know, sometimes linear game plan can still be a good one. Aratos is thinking about what to do here. Are you worried about that back row there? Heavy Storm. I think Heavy Storm is very, very good in this situation. Shrink going for the DD Warrior Lady. Yeah, losing out on that meta there, so it's kind of rough. I mean, ideally they probably would have wanted to meta away the Zaborg into a Dark Balter or something like that, but yeah, exactly, Dump Truck. You know, Aratos takes awkward situations for him and turns it into awkward situations for their opponent. That's kind of like how Magnus Carlsen plays chess, from what I've heard, where like basically Magnus Carlsen, what they do is he just makes like basically chess puzzles for the opponent, being like, you know, I'm going to put you in this situation, try and figure your best way out of it. And then if they try and do something, then he presents another chess problem for them. And basically it just makes a bunch of different awkward situations for the opponent. But Snatch on the green gadget to hit in for 14 here. I mean, that will give, okay, well not, because Aratos tribute setting over that gadget. Probably a Mally in hand. So now we know the hand is, well, we know the hand is Disc Commander, but that's probably a Mally there. But, oh, that Banisher. The Banisher. Oh, getting over the Mally. That is rough. That's rough. I mean, that might be good enough. Setting one, passing back, but it's awkward. If that's a Phoenix Wing, then you pitch the Disc Commander, gets banished. You've dealt with the Banisher for one turn, but it doesn't do much. Death Shoot. Okay, Death Shoot is pretty necessary there, I think. Jeff Jones is the one who played the Hero City. Yes. Thank you, Bulk to win. I appreciate the update there. But yeah, I mean, I think Clement is European, so makes sense that they'd play macro like that. But yeah, it's going to be the end of the game. Unfortunately, that Disc Commander in hand is not going to do it. And Macro Gadget's taking the game here. I mean, Macro. So the nice thing about Macro Gadget, I think, is Gadgets, I think, have a good matchup against variety decks in the format, but they generally don't have a matchup against T-Hero. I think T-Hero is just a very good deck that can do a lot of things to get over the Gadgets, but T-Hero also does struggle against Macrocosmos and Dipfizz. So this shores up the deck's weakest matchup, and is just pretty good in general. So, yeah, I like this sort of innovation from Clemens here. We haven't seen many people play it, but maybe this will be the way to play Gadgets in the future. Maybe I'll make a video on it in the future as well. But that's going to do it for the locals today. I hope you all enjoyed as always. If you want to participate in future locals, head over to the YGO from Zero Discord server in the description of the stream. Follow me on YouTube and Twitch. because I do both there. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch tomorrow as well, probably. I'll probably be doing a Mass Kits challenge, so if you want to watch that, then head on over there. And yeah, play Demise to check it out, see what you think about it. And I hope you enjoy it. The Mobius was in hand as well, so yeah, Mobius would have been pretty good there, but unfortunately not good enough. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I hope you enjoyed as always, and I'm going to sign off here. I don't quite understand German, but I do see the dump truck is saying that Clemens is a legend, and I agree with that. So on that legendary note, I'm going to call it here, and I'll see y'all next time. So